Hello everyone, and welcome back to another Jujutsu Kaisen leaks coverage video. Now we have the first chapter since the announcement of JJK ending in 5 chapters with the release of Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 267, and this is the climax of the Shinjuku Showdown arc. This is the final chapter, and going into it, all I could really think was, well, how are they going to do this? How are they going to wrap it up? And am I going to be pleased with it? And if there's one thing that I can say, is that I am absolutely delighted with the way that this arc has concluded. I believe, personally, that this arc has had a lot of issues, but I can put all of that out the window and tell you with a fully extended heart that I am absolutely in love with this ending, and I think it couldn't have gone any better than this. I've been an absolute mess this morning, I'm not going to lie, and I might even well up during this video because my goodness, has this been such an incredible experience reading this chapter this morning. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to ask if you could leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. JJK is coming to an end soon, but if you're interested in all the other shonen series like One Piece, Boruto, Chainsaw Man, etc., then I would appreciate you subscribing a lot. Thank you so much, and let's get right into this chapter. As we can see, the chapter opens with a very, very long flashback scene, and what we're cutting back to is Yuta and Gojo, and what the topic of the conversation is well, a plethora of things, but to kind of put it down to one major thing, it is the separate finger, the 20th Sukuna finger that Gojo has hidden away so that nobody can get it. And Yuta is essentially saying, can we please ingest the final finger so that we can copy his technique, me and Rika? And of course that is what everybody thought had happened, which is why Yuta knew Dismantle, right? He copied Shrine, right? Well, no, not really. As this flashback explains, during Gojo and Yuta's switch training, which, by the way, absolutely hilarious couple of scenes. As you can see, Yuta's scared, anxious, innocent face in Gojo, and then Gojo has the cockiest face on Yuta's body. It does not look right at all. It's the you can tell straight away that Gojo is in this body, man. He looks like Yuta essentially just looks like Gojo with black hair. It is so funny, and Yuta looks all innocent in Gojo's body. It is, you can tell it from an absolute mile away. But in terms of the dialogue, there's so much of it, and as you can probably tell by the title and thumbnail of this chapter review, I want to get to the later stuff in the chapter pretty quickly, so I'm not going to dive straight into all of the dialogue. But essentially what happens in this conversation is that we find out why Yuta was able to copy Shrine. We find that out through Sukuna once this flashback ends. And we find out that it was not indeed Sukuna's last finger that Yuta ate, or sorry, Rika ate, so that Yuta could copy Sukuna's technique. And yeah, that is essentially the bulk of it. Now I am going to scroll through these and just check that I've not missed any huge details. But yeah, that's really true. Yuta says that with cursed words like Inumaki's technique, for example, he's really clueless about that as well unless Inumaki tells me. Which essentially means that even though he copies someone's technique, it's not like when he copies it, he gets like all the knowledge of how it works and all that, which you could see clearly when he swapped into Gojo's body, because listen, let's be real, Yuta was pretty useless with Limitless. Like, he didn't really know how to use it, he couldn't get a grasp of it. So yeah, that makes perfect sense to why his curse technique works that way. We're talking about potentials of Rika maybe using Gojo, eating Gojo's arm to gain Limitless, displayed through this hilariously goofy diagram that perfectly depicts Gojo. This is heavy like season 1 of the anime vibes. I love it. Yeah, so basically what they're saying is Rika could eat Gojo's arm, copy Limitless, and then Gojo could use RCT to grow it back. However, that is just simply not how it works. if you use RCT on a limb that's been eaten by Rika, then the effect of the copy technique will go to 0, and it just simply won't work. So yeah, very much not the case. You can't do that. It's also revealed through Yuta that Gojo can confirm techniques through the 6 eyes. And so, what I mean by that, like you can see right here, Gojo Sensei confirmed that Yuji's body had been engraved with Sukuna's technique with the 6 eyes. And so, that's the only real hint that Yuji currently has, like, in character, in universe, that he is the son of Sukuna's twin reincarnate. But obviously that hasn't been confirmed to him, but we all know that that's why his body's engraved with that technique. So, yeah. And we jump back to the present, and like I said, he's stunned because Sukuna didn't expect to see 2 fingers missing. The boy's fingers, 2 are missing. This isn't a fresh wound, it was just the one left pinky finger that I used to move into Fushiguro Megumi. The final Sukuna finger, you couldn't recover it, could you? Back to a flashback where Gakuganji's there, Utahime is there. All the useless and no-name irrelevant characters are showing up and being somewhat relevant in the final chapters of JJK. What met the copy conditions was not my finger, but Yuji's finger, because Yuji had been engraved with Sukuna's technique already. So Yuji's innate technique at that point, regardless of having Sukuna or not, was Shrine. And so he ate one of Yuji's fingers to copy the Shrine technique. And I have to say, that's genius. Like, of course it is, it makes so much sense. It means you don't have to give up Sukuna's finger, which means that you can use that for, well, other purposes. And it means that Yuta can still gain the curse technique of Sukuna, technically, without losing, well, really much of anything at all. So, yeah, that's incredible. And Utahime, during this conversation with Gakuganji, says that, well, basically, they're talking about a binding vow, that they can use a binding vow to, like, shift away from the goal of destroying the cursed object and specialise into only getting the technique's effect. But that's not what they do. However, because Utahime says in the last sentence, in any case, what worries me is that there's not been much time since she woke up. And now, who is that? I'm sure you've guessed it from the thumbnail already by now, or if you've already read the leaks. None other than Kugisaki Nobara is back in the story. I cannot believe that Nobara is back in Jujutsu Kaisen with 5 chapters to go. I love this so much. I don't give a shit about your Mickey Mouse allegations. Get that so far to fuck, mate. I do not care. Nobara is back in the story. Megumi just helped Yuji in the last chapter. Yuji's been doing bits for ages, and Nobara's back. The trio has returned to help each other, and Nobara just happens to be the win condition for this fight, because what does she do? Well, she uses resonance. She says, boys, you can rejoice. I'm back. Straw doll, resonance, bang. Straight away, Sukuna convulses, he's screaming, what is this? What the hell is going on? I can't expand my domain at this rate. The boy sure hit technique will. And then we get my favourite panel in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. Just straight up my favourite panel in all of Jujutsu Kaisen. I could well up even looking at it right now. Seeing Nobara with that smile on her face. The return to life after what feels like, well, it literally has been over 100 chapters since she's been around. 130 chapters this has been. And not just seeing Nobara smile like this. Not just her making the little hint, oh papi, you damn idiot. Reference to Yuji's reveal back in the Goodwill arc, which is incredible, by the way. But not just Nobara being smiley and happy and her being back and doing something, but seeing Yuji smile like this after the shit that he's been through, after feeling like Nobara was dead for the longest time, after feeling like Megumi was gone and he was never going to be able to see him back again, to see him being able to smile again and know that his two friends are okay. They might have lost Gojo, but he still has these two people. He's not alone. After Nobara kind of reminding him that he wasn't alone in Shibuya, and then proceeding to lose her in that same fight only a couple of minutes later, to have them back here, to not actually be alone this time. And then, sorry, honestly, it is a fucking emotional thing for me. Like, I love this trio so much, and I specifically love their relationship, and I love Yuji as a main character so much. So to see Yuji truly happy from the bottom of his heart, essentially for the first time since before Shibuya, is just simply incredible. It's been a long time coming for this main character to actually feel like the main character, and to actually have his character arc paid off in a way that feels satisfactory, in the way that makes the readers feel happy. And it's just, yeah, it's the perfect climax to this amazing story with these amazing characters that we didn't see enough, but now that we've got them back in these final chapters, it almost makes you want to savour them 10 times more than you ever would have thought of before, because it's going to be over soon. Like, holy shit, man. But if anybody was going to come back before the end of this story, I am so glad it was Nobara, because nobody, and I mean nobody, could get this reaction out of Yuji like Nobara can. She is truly his closest friend. That is a fact. And they love each other so much, and it is such an amazing feeling, but also heavily emotional, to see her back in the story. Honestly, I am so fucking delighted. It's perfect. It's the best feel-good moment that you could possibly have. Yuji uses the dismantle, Sukuna's being all fucked up and all that. We get the action scenes, Sukuna's fuming, not yet, he's worried about his defeat being around the corner. He is fucking raging. He is so angry. It's so sick. He's saying that you're the one that's going to end here. That's really definitely not the case. We last a couple more pages of the action, and Sukuna's just getting fucked up. And we get to the final moments where Yuji starts to slow down. He has a time delayed second impact. His divergent fist, just like that was his only ability for a very long time in this manga. He's now very, very strong, but he uses his first fundamental technique against Sukuna for the final time. Yuji says, "Let's put an end to this, Sukuna, to the cycle of curses." Bear in mind that once the Sukuna as a curse does not exist, curses are going to be less attracted to, appearing, essentially, because the cursed object, the strongest cursed object in history, will not exist anymore, and so it'll do a great deal for breaking the cycle. And as Yuji loads up a final punch for what seems to be, he comes full circle as he uses Black Flash right down Sukuna's middle section to destroy Sukuna once and for all, and finally end the final battle of Jujutsu Kaisen. Wow, what an ending. What an amazing climax to this fight. To see Sukuna do so much damage to what we call the Kusakabe coalition. To essentially have the Sukuna cycle where we were all getting bored at a certain point. But then to give Yuji his moment. To give Yuji his huge character moment. To hop into the fight. To have the biggest moment in the entire series up to this point. The return of Nobara. To complete the trio's help in this fight. To give essentially Yuji the win. And to let Sukuna be finished off by the kid that Sukuna has cursed for so long. The one that has ruined his life. That killed his sensei. That destroyed Megumi's life. Everything about this is absolutely perfect. And I can't thank Gege Akutami enough for giving us this ending. I'm so glad that he's delivered, because I was very much concerned that he would not. And he would do some bullshit with the end of this story. He has not done any bullshit with it. This is as real of the story as you can get. And I'm so fucking grateful to be able to say that. Just like the title's probably going to say, Gege Akutami I fucking love you from the bottom of my heart for giving me this story, for giving us this story, for being able to enjoy the last few chapters with the characters that we grew to love so much at the start of this story that were ripped away from us, and everybody was crying about how Gege's the worst mangaka ever, he'll just kill off all the favourite characters and all that. Well, no. He's given us our satisfactory moment finally, and it feels 10 times better than it would have if he had gone down the simple formula of just not killing anybody off. No, he killed pretty much everybody off, but seeing one of them return and seeing these characters get their moment makes that, like, that whole sacrifice and that whole terrible feeling of losing these characters truly worth it. Now, I'm going to leave it there, but I'm going to make a separate video in the next couple of days about the classic Twitter comments about, oh, Nobara's back, that means Gojo can come back as well. No, I will make a video on that and sort that out for good. I don't like talking about that at this point, but narratively I need to talk about it to make sure that people understand that Gojo coming back makes no sense and Nobara coming back made perfect sense, which is the reason why Gege left the door open in the first place. So see that in the next couple of days. If you're interested in that video, I would appreciate you subscribing to the channel, as well as if you want to see more shonen series like I said earlier, Chainsaw Man, Boruto, One Piece, whatever tickles your fancy. If you like any of that, I would appreciate you subscribing a hell of a lot, as well as leaving a like on the video if you really did enjoy it. Again, I would appreciate that so much. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to leave a couple of JJK videos on the screen if you would like to continue watching. I would appreciate that a ton. I'll have a One Piece video up in a couple of hours as well if you're interested in that. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Gege Akutami, and goodbye.